Hey there, it's Scott Oldford, and today I want to go through the assessment funnel. So we're going to be going through a training, and I'm going to share with you how we generated over $2 million with a really simple funnel that actually adds a lot of value to the people that are already in your audience. It's really good for being able to funnel stack, and it's really easy to put together. So this actually happened by mistake. There was no real strategy around this. I was just one weekend, I was like, trying to figure out how we could get more people into our high-ticket program. And so, and I was thinking about it, I'm like, there's a lot of people in my audience that needs this, that really could use this. And so we started it, and it worked incredibly well with that. I'm gonna share some of the details with today. It's gone on to generate us a lot of revenue, and it's something that's very easy to replicate. And you can do this in a live fashion, you can do this evergreen, you can make it so that this kind of integrates with your current funnel. Of course, the intention of this is not for a cold audience, but rather to monetize the audience that you've already created through your lead generation, and you just kind of want a different angle. See, a lot of the time when it comes to marketing, it's the angle that gets somebody into your world, because an angle creates new attention, and new attention creates more people, of course, looking at you, and those people, of course, are going to want to eventually work with you. You think about it this way. If there's a tree and you look at the tree and you're walking down the road and you're going in a straight line and the tree's to the right, if you continue looking at the tree, you'll actually end up at the tree, even if the direction you were going in was different. So wherever you're going, wherever your attention is where people will spend money and where people will eventually end up in terms of a destination. So here's how it works, just from a high level. We're gonna go in really deep detail today. If you're in Project Nuclear, or if you're watching this and you're a client of mine, we have all the templates and files and that type of thing. If you're not, then this training will suffice, but of course, if you have the templates and swipes and ads and everything else, a little bit easier. So here's how it works. So we have traffic, whether it be Facebook ads, so on and so forth. I'll share that with you in a minute. That goes to the assessment sales page, so it goes directly to the sales page. You charge some level of money, could be $37, $97. We charge $297 for the assessment we were going with. It goes to the delivery, and then of course they become a customer, and then you can upsell them from there. So obviously you're not making a ton of money on the actual assessment itself. The intention here is not to be in a place where you're making a ton of money with the assessment. The real potential here is to take qualified people that should be in your high ticket program or your higher level program and be able to give them a reason to be able to join. So this isn't, I wouldn't look at this as a tripwire because it's not really intended to be an information product. To give you context, and I'll go through it a little bit more in a minute, this was an actual assessment that my team put together with myself for every single person that came in. Now it was templated, and we knew kind of, hey, there's this many types of people that are going to be coming through this application and this assessment. But overall, it really created a level of intimacy, and it really created a level of people being like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that. Let me, I want to work with you. And so this works really well if you're helping people in their relationship, helping people in their business, helping people in their life. Some level, this is mostly for the B2B market more than, say, the B2C market. You might be able to put it in health and wellness, but overall, this is sort of the structure of how it would look. So I went through this in a second ago, so I kind of went a little too quick, but to recap. You want to use an assessment, B2B, maybe a little bit of B2C. You want to use it in an assessment when you're going to a higher ticket product, so something that's over $1,000. You want to be utilizing this type of funnel, not to cold traffic, but rather retargeting your current traffic. So this is really good for when you're doing what's called funnel stacking. So you have your challenge funnel, your webinar funnel, or your guide, or whatever it might be, and then after 30 days, after 60 days, coming in and implementing this on top of it. So sending some emails, again, I'm going to go through all this, sending some emails, having retargeting ads that go to this assessment. The idea here is that these people are already nurtured, they already know who you are, they already know that there's a problem of pain, and what you're doing through this is assessing their problem and pain and helping them to that next step. So really what you're doing is, this works best, of course, when you're trying to get someone to get on a phone call. This doesn't work well if you just have an information product. This works well if you're selling or you're getting people to get on strategy calls or booking calls, because essentially what you're really doing is you're paying, or somebody's paying to get on a phone call with you. And obviously you're giving more value than a sales call, but typically, and I'll show you this later, typically it will end up becoming an actual person, an actual lead that really does want to work with you, and very, very, very qualified at that. So to give you a little bit of context on how we used it, and I'll give you our numbers as well. So this was our assessment funnel. Now, we actually changed a little bit of our business model kind of while we launched this and put it out there. So it worked really, really well for us, but we went into more of an investment model shortly thereafter. So it didn't really kind of continue to work because we discontinued the product we were selling. So overall, we had people coming inside of our funnel with a couple of different lead magnets, our ROI method, our 6 pillars of 7 figures. And then we would retarget them with emails, ads, and via the group. So basically what happened is every 30 to 60 days, we would put this out there. They would go to a sales page that had a video on it, as well as kind of, hey, a lot of social proof, and here's what you're gonna get, so on and so forth. The offer was $297. We delivered that. I'll talk a little bit more on the delivery a little bit later. And then they were either disqualified, meaning they weren't a good fit. And in that case, if we couldn't help them, we would refund their money, say, hey, we can't help you, and they'd be on their way. If we could help them, we would deliver what we said we'd deliver, and then of course we would attempt to book a phone call to go over it and see if there's a way that we could work together. From there, it ended up being able to sell our $10,000 product as well as Project Nuclear, which, depending on what it looks like, could be $100,000 or more. And if you look at monthly recurring revenue and yearly recurring revenue, that could be a $200,000 to $500,000 sale per person that came into Project Nuclear. So for us, obviously every business is different, but for us, it was really, really, really beneficial. So here's what it looked like. We had 287 assessments, so 287 people bought the assessment. That generated $85,000. Obviously, that wasn't a whole bunch of money if we're really looking at the scope of our business, but it did pay for ad spend, and most of the time, we were getting people to buy the assessment from Facebook ads for less than $50. So we were profitable right from the get-go. Out of that, 92 people were disqualified. That means 92 people were not a good fit. Now, that's actually a pretty good percentage in my opinion. Obviously if your messaging is more on, you're gonna have less qualification. I was pretty happy with only 92 people being disqualified. Of those 195 that were left, we had 81 people, or almost 29% actually, 29% that actually purchased something from us. That was at least $10,000 up to $100,000. So this generated, I say 2 million, it was far more than 2 million if you include the larger sales and the back end of those sales and percentage deals and so on and so forth. We only ran this a few times, okay? So we only ran this a few times the way that we did this, and then we did, of course, discontinue the product in which it was essentially selling. Now, here's the beauty of this. We were generating revenue right here on a week-by-week basis, and the time for someone to go from here to here was like, for the most part, less than a week. So we were able to literally turn this on, both from an evergreen perspective as well as turn it on, go to the audience for a week, talk to it, and then generate not just literally instantaneous sales, but instantaneous sales for our higher end programs. And that's why I really, really, really love how this works. The other cool thing is this was really valuable, regardless if someone bought or not, and they spent $287, they got a lot from it. And they actually had an action steps of, here's what you need to do next. And I think that was really, really cool. So the first part of being able to develop this assessment, and we'll go through the different parts here, is how to position it. So we want to position an assessment in a way that really allows for someone to look up to you as an authority, but also to have a very clear understanding of what they're going to have assessed and why it's so important that that assessment is on their life or their relationship or their business or whatever it might be. And it's sort of sold as, this is not a product, this is intimacy. This is us knowing the way and us telling you the way up the mountain, and what you do with that is totally up to you, but we want to be able to help you. But let's get the strategy out of the way. Which brings us to the assessment offer. So, we only did one assessment offer. We did it for $297. We changed intimacy levels and that type of thing. But your offer is really based upon how much intimacy, your audience. So for example, if it was a one-on-one call with me, it would be very different than a $297 price point. It wasn't a $297 price point if they were getting on a one-on-one call with me. In your case, you might do it for $97 or $47, depending on your market and depending on really your scenario. For me, I knew that entrepreneurs that we were trying to get into this, that were making more than $20,000 a month, would need to spend at least $297 for them to actually follow through after they purchased. And that was really important, because if they didn't follow through after they purchased, of course, we're not going to be able to bring them into the next thing. So your assessment offer, just to add a couple more things to this, we added a 60-minute Q&A session. We added a one-on-one strategy call on the back end of the strategy that they actually got. And we also did a couple of other things that were like a little bit more intimacy focused and being able to reach out to them and help them and so on and so forth. So if you're going to do this, obviously this is not like a funnel where you opt in or anything like that. So what you really need for the sales page is a video or a VSL, video sales letter. For mine, I had a quick 3-minute video that explained what it was, what it's about. Remember, these people probably already know you. This is not going to a cold audience. Of course it could, but the cost to be able to get someone there and the kind of everything that's pieced together, we didn't go down that path. I think there's potential to go down that path or put it on a thank you page after someone opts in, assuming that the cost is less than $100. So then you want to have copy that brings them through sort of them from being in a place of, hey, here's where your pain is, here's where you're to right now, where do you want to be? So it's going from the pain to vision sort of place. And then from there, the social proof is probably the most important part of this page. The most important part of this and what got people to say, yes, I want to do this, is them saying, I know that there's problems in my business. I want them fixed, but I don't really know what they even are. Like, I want clarity. And so most of what you're selling here inside of an assessment, especially in the B2B world, is someone having clarity on the next steps. And people pay a lot of money for clarity, because clarity is the difference between someone making the right decision and the bad decision or the wrong decision. So social proof here really needs to back up the fact that you are the authority of whatever it is that you do, and that other people have had success utilizing your strategy and your sort of assessment of your business, the relationship, whatever it might be. So then we have the email sequence and the advertising strategy. So essentially what we did, there's a couple different places you can add this in. So you can run it live. We did that a couple times. We did that 2 or 3 times. And then also evergreen. So you can make it so once somebody's in your funnel after 60 days, you send them some emails. After another 60 days, you send them some more emails that they haven't bought, and the same in terms of the Facebook ad strategy. So what we did is we did 4 or 5 emails that went in succession. Of course, kind of different angles and different formats, some social proof inside and so on and so forth. And then, of course, we had an ad stack that essentially went and showed it every 30 days for 3 to 5 days. So we had essentially these different ads, these different ad formations, variations that will come up and kind of pop up in that person's world in every 30 or so days. Now, we didn't run this a long time, but I do know every single time that ran, we were getting sales on this. And we didn't show this to a very large percentage of our audience. This was showed less than 20,000 people of our audience. So we were able to get 287 people out of a 20,000 person audience without really even attempting to do this in a broad stroke. This was kind of like my own little side project while my business was, my company and my marketing team was working on a bunch of other stuff. And then we saw that it worked, and then of course I decided we were going to go in a little bit of a different business model that was more investment focused versus just purely coaching focused. So then the question comes up on fulfillment strategy, right? So the fulfillment of the assessment is going to depict how well it converts to somebody coming into your program. I'm going to be the first person to say we had some fulfillment problems, because a lot of the assessment, especially at the beginning, not so much at the end, but at the beginning, relied on me. So at the beginning, it was just me looking at these assessments, helping people with the assessment, so on and so forth. That obviously wasn't very scalable. Of course, when I'm doing an experiment, I do the whole thing. As time went on and we got it more structured, it was fine. But at the beginning, it wasn't. So the biggest part, and I'm going to talk about some of the things that we didn't do right, but the biggest part is making sure you don't sell too many. We had too many, it got overwhelming for me, and I couldn't put it onto my team. And I actually decreased the number of people that I could have turned into a customer by mistake because of this. And so you just want to make sure that from a fulfillment perspective, you know you can deliver what it is you can. This is something I messed up on because it relied upon me, and I want to make sure that you don't make the same mistake with this. So in terms of things that did not work, first off, as soon as we made this professional, as soon as we made a nice video, as soon as we made a nice sales page, it decreased conversions. Okay, so a large part of this was intimacy, was someone feeling some level of intimacy. Second thing that did not work was over promoting it to the same exact audience. Okay, so we want to make sure that the audience isn't seeing it all the time. We had that going for a while with ads, and then we essentially just promoted it every 30 days, and then it would just turn off, so on and off. Another thing that did not work is as soon as there was no level of intimacy, meaning there wasn't any ability to have a phone call, there wasn't any ability to essentially have intimacy with my team and sales conversions went down significantly. We tried partnering with someone to be able to do this and send it to their email list. That did not work. That failed miserably. Essentially this would be a JV or affiliate, sort of offer. It didn't work because at the end of the day, the person didn't know me. And if the person doesn't know you, this does not work, especially at a price point that's over $100, especially when you're giving advice and advisory and strategy to somebody. And finally, as I said before, overloading and taking too much on. That was by far one of the biggest problems, one of the biggest issues that we had too many people buy this. And because of that, we really didn't have the delivery system and fulfillment where it should have been, because largely this wasn't part of our business strategy and we just added it. So this might be a good thing, and in hindsight, it would have been a great thing for us to be able to restrict the number of people that came in. At the end, that's what we started doing. But at the beginning, we didn't know how well it's going to work, and it just kept on working. And it's hard to push the cancel button on something that's working so well. So just keep that in mind. So with all of that, if you want to take the assessment, I'm going to put a link below so you can see the sales page, you can see everything else like that. We do it in a little bit of a different way now, but that is everything you'll be able to see that's live to the world. If you're in Project Nuclear, if you're a customer of ours, we're going to put together everything in a little package so that you have the swipes, you have the emails, so on and so forth, so you can go and implement this yourself. So with that said, hopefully this is valuable to you in terms of how to be able to generate more revenue from the leads you've already generated, how to help your audience in a way that is a little bit cheeky, a little bit different, a little bit of a different angle. And for us, it was a game changer to be able to generate a lot more revenue from those exact same people. And I hope that it will do the same for you. We'll talk soon. Bye.